From delightful Denver, Colorado, home of the Broncos and the site of our sports scarring moment today, Tebow 316. The year is 2012. The wild card round of the NFL playoffs and the Pittsburgh Steelers made the voyage to the Rockies, only to battle it out with the aforementioned Broncos. Despite being 8-point favorites on the road, they found themselves on the ropes in overtime, and I'll let Steelers superfan Payton Girod tell you the rest of the tale. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow on all socials at Pierce TV, but most importantly, enjoy this week's episode of Sports.
And here we go. First snap of the overtime.
On our defense? No way.
The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year. They won them all.
Weird shit happens in Mile High City.
Got him at the 40. It's Thomas at the 50. Stiff arm got him 3 to the 30.
My first real memory of the Steelers is actually the Steelers losing 0-4 AFC Championship to your New England Patriots. And I think that was when I saw my dad get so emotional about it, where I was like, oh, like this matters. Like I should care about this. And then, got into it that way. So then I started playing football. I think it's like anybody. You start playing football, you watch your dad playing football or something like that. You kind of just get enamored with their team. And I never even thought of rooting for another team. I didn't wear other guys' jerseys. I didn't wear other teams. It was all Steelers.
It's almost impossible to overstate just how massive this Tim Tebow run was. He was the hottest thing smoking in the NFL. And I'd argue in all of sports that whole year, in a league with multiple Hall of Famers at quarterback, none of which being him. But what did Payton think of the league's lead story that year?
I thought it was really, really cool story. Obviously, you watched Tim Tebow in college. It was like the first guy you realized, like, oh, this is the greatest college football player ever, Heisman guy. And then he gets in the league and like, oh, he might not make it. His throwing motion's terrible. And you're like, as a kid, you're thinking that doesn't add up. You know what I mean? Like, you don't realize how like the games don't translate, apples to apples. So it was cool to watch it. A guy that people doubted, probably shouldn't have been a first round pick, when we look back at it, even then. So I think it was cool until we ran into him. And I thought, something's up. Like you watched when he played the Bears, like the weeks leading up to it, you're like, this has to end at some point, but I don't like to be the guy that has to get in the way of this. You know what I mean? So I would say going into it or on the outside of it, looking at it, I was worried. I was worried God was going to get me. But I thought, the Steelers were in, God's good grace. I kind of thought that as a high school kid. I was like, we're good. We're not the Patriots. We don't have anything like that. So I thought we might be okay. But I was very mistaken with that.
You were going against Tim Tebow and also the Lord.
I mean,
the Holy Trinity was on his side, man.
SNL made a skit about it. I mean, it's true. I mean, the 316 part of the game, it's just like those things. If you don't believe or whatever, you're like, there's something weird going on here, clearly. So it was definitely, we were up against it, and they had a good year too. That's the saddest part. You look at what had happened in Denver. You look at weirdly enough, I looked this up the other day because this started my curiosity. The only guy to beat Tom Brady undefeated in his career is Jake Plummer, and he, you know what I mean? It's Jake Plummer, right? But going to Denver, weird shit happens. Ryan Clark couldn't play. I don't believe in that game because of sickle cell, and that would happen throughout the when we'd go back there. So it's you have a good defense, you lose guys The weird shit happens in Mile High City, as everyone has seen from a number of games, and especially the playoffs. So I was very concerned. I was concerned that Tim Tebow himself just doesn't have that quit in him. And then you play football, you have rah-rah guys, right? And, eventually if they ain't producing, it just starts to go away. You stop believing them. But that was the problem, was he had that run of people believing in him, that people saw it. So I thought the first thing was no matter how far they got down or anything like that, they would be prepared for it and they would be ready for it, and people would be backing him, except John Elway, who was just the guy, literally the owner of Major League, just God, please lose so I can get rid of you.
But that biggest story in the league was up against one of the league's biggest challenges. the defending AFC champion Pittsburgh Steelers.
Coming off of losing in the Super Bowl, I thought they played better than people would have thought because of the Super Bowl slump if you lose. Typically, the Steelers kind of like win the Super Bowl, go like 8-8, 9-7, and they went 12-4 that year. So I thought they were poised to like have a pretty good run at it. They had some guys that weren't Hines Ward, and they weren't mainly Heath Miller. You were learning new guys that were becoming the go-to receivers. So those were like the cool things about it. You know, I thought we're going to the Super Bowl every other year. We're at least going to be contenders in that way and get to the AFC Championship. But Denver, just bad luck of a draw. Going 12-4, you get those 8-8 Broncos, and you have to go there because you didn't win your division.
And speaking of that game, let's get to it, shall we?
They were down at half 20-6. So it could have been way worse. Like I thought, wow, like this is the end of everything. I'm sitting there at halftime and I'm like, Eddie Royal's getting some points. I'm like, Eddie Royal on our defense? No way. And it's just, you know, he ran a touchdown in the first half. And yeah, I was just worried about it. Also, Matt Prater was like a god that season, if you can recall. Like I was also worried if we got in that situation, like what happened, like he's good from 60 in Mile High with ease. So I think like coming back, you know, clawing your way back, it was 23-13 going into the fourth quarter. And I was like, you know, maybe we could do this. And we came back and, you know, made some magic happen, got to overtime. Felt like we might sneak out of that one, but nah.
But they were able to come back and take the game to overtime. What were young Payton Girod's thoughts going into that period?
I thought that we would be able to hold them maybe to a field goal. That was actually my bigger concern because I think at that time, a field goal would still win the game. I don't think you had the opportunity to go back. So I was really more worried about them getting there and stopping them to get, like I said, Matt Prater was good from probably like 60 if they asked him. And I was really more concerned about that. And then it's just one fucking play. He's just, Demaryius Thomas, RIP, he's out. I mean, it was like one of those, like, you knew, like, you're watching, you know, from the side, like on TV. But when he catches it and you don't see anybody else, you're like, oh my God. He's going to, I thought at worst, he was going to be tackled at like the 20 and just go down and they're going to kick it. But then when he just kept going, I was like, holy, I can't go to school Monday. I can't see these people that I regularly talk to. I got to like go, like, I'm in high school worried about this. Like I was petrified. Oh my God. I thought I was going to die that year. Like it was just so bad. I honestly think if they won the toss, I think we would have punted. I don't think we would have scored. I don't think there was any way, looking back, I don't think there was any way we win that game. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure really like what my mindset was in that moment. I was just like petrified. I was so scared in that moment that we got to this part that, you know, if anybody caught like a 5-yard in, I would have probably been like, oh my God.
Well, he alluded to it, so I had to ask about an experience we can all relate to. What was it like going into school the following Monday after a loss of that magnitude?
Oh man, it was brutal. I remember I turned my phone on after the game. Like I turned my phone off after it ended. And then I didn't like turn it back on until probably like the next day, like afternoon, like at lunch or something like that. Just had so many texts and seeing people like in school immediate, like right when you walk into school, people just rushing you. So that was brutal. You know, obviously like you being a fan like I am, like you carry it on your sleeve. So all your teachers know it. So the worst is you go to gym class, and I don't know how yours was, but like our football coach was the gym teacher. And he immediately just started like saying that we were going to run, I think he said like we were going to run like 316 sprints or something. Like he started doing jokes about like the game, like stats of it. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even escape like the teachers of the school. And you know what I mean? I'm like, I can't be the only Steeler fan in this place. I just remember like wanted to leave so quickly. I think I skipped after school lifting that day just so I didn't have to see my coach again and like just go through the whole lift of just being mocked. Like that's not 316 pounds on that bar. You're like, God, this is just unbearable. I think this was worse than when we lost the Super Bowl to the Packers. Because you can't, like, at the end of the day, you lose the Super Bowl, but you lost, like, you got to a Super Bowl. And Like, the Steelers had an opportunity to probably maybe go down and win it. Like, Rashard Mendenhall, God, he fumbled that football, and like, that was brought up. But I mean, like, Tim Tebow, I think what made it worse was what happened the following week to the Broncos, of them just getting dismantled. I think it was like 45 to like maybe nothing. I don't even know what the score was. It was 45, I think, something. And it was bad. Like, it was really bad. And like, it just made us look weaker that we couldn't stop that. And then Bill Belichick, and then that probably started the rumors in Pittsburgh, like, we'll never be better than the Patriots, like really started like that whole, like, people in Pittsburgh believed it.
Outside of the general embarrassment, did the 3-16 game represent something bigger, the end of an era of sorts?
Mike Tomlin and them did a good job of saying, we pride ourselves on the run game, the defense, you say that. But at that same time, Ben Roethlisberger was throwing for, I think he threw for 500 yards 2 weeks in a row. Like, that wasn't happening years prior. Todd Haley got, like, things were not going, like, offense was booming. They really started hounding the offense needs to try to put up 30 points a game. And you can look at that like an NFL shift too, where offenses, obviously we see it today, where it's like, all right, just stop them like 3 times and we might win this game.
We've been dancing around it, but what is it like almost 15 years later, having to see such a famous play over and over and over again? It's
one of those things, like, you see Tim Tebow speaking at like a child trafficking conference, and he's like, this is terrible what they're doing, and we need to stop this. And then the next question in the panel is, what was it like during that 3-16 game? And it's like, it has nothing to do with this very important topic, but people ask. People got to know, what was it like? What did you think? Did you feel Jesus inside your body? Was he with you that day? Did you see him in the huddle at any point? Like, people, like, no matter what he's at, you're right. Like, it comes up when they think about Tim Tebow. They think about that before any of the other moments. The Florida State game where he's all bloodied. I think that's the image you see the most. But for moment-wise, for sure. I mean, you can't. I don't know what else you could say. What other moment would there be? So it's just, I can't escape him. He's part of our history now too. So you got to live with it.
Thank you to Payton for coming on. Thank you to Steelers fans who somehow made it this far into the video. Comment below so I can thank you personally. And thank you to you specifically. But I had to ask, what would Payton say to Mr. Timothy Tebow if he was in front of us right now at this very second? Post-credit scene. Go.
Thank you for all you do for everybody in the world. But man, you f***ed me up. You f***ed me up. Like, my high school career got f***ed up because of that. So